A very good morning, in my mind at least, and welcome to the GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS. We're at the Nürburgring. You can just about make it out below the low hanging cloud. There was a smattering of rain at 7 o'clock this morning. The Eiffel Forest has its own microclimate. What it will provide today remains to be seen, but what we know is coming up is the qualifying session. 3 quick fire 15-minute sessions for drivers 1, 2 and 3. My name is Bruce Jones, joined in the commentary box by Joe Osborne. And Joe, a murky morning here, but if the track has a little bit of greasiness on it, that adds to the jeopardy of these quick-fire qualifying sessions.
Yeah, and it's rain in the local area. I left the hotel this morning. It was raining heavily there, and I got here and it was okay. And we just had the McLaren Trophy out, and they were actually 5/10 quicker than their session yesterday around this 5.1 kilometre circuit, Nürburgring GP. 17 corners, fast flowing in places, and then very stop-start. Sector 1, that turn 1 from our highest VMAX speed, 260 kilometres an hour, all the way down to 60 at the apex of turn 1. So yeah, it's going to be fast, it's going to be hard. 3 sessions all combined, of course. So as a driver, you're only 33% of the results.
And let's hope it's a good 33 1/3%. You forgot the third there, Joe. But right, the pit lane absolutely packed. 10 manufacturers, 61 cars. Last year we thought it was a fantastic field at 55, but the Endurance Series growing and growing. And I tell you what, it's super tight on points. So there's a point on offer for pole position, but with the lead crew, the Windward Racing Man Filter Mercedes on 54, just 1 point clear of the number 32 Team WRT BMW. They're on 53, and 1 point further back, Sven Muller, Patrick Niederhauser, and Alessio Picariello in the Rutronic Racing Porsche. So for any of those teams, it will just buy them one little point that may just be vital come the end of the season. So it's all eyes on the drivers, not just each car, it's each of the 3 drivers in each of the cars. In fact, 1 car towards the end of our entry list, UNX Racing just having 2 drivers. But for everyone else, it's 3 drivers, 3 super quick fire 15-minute sessions. And with this many cars, Joe, one of the biggest things isn't going to be about feeding the grip, it's about finding the space out on the track. And you did some maths yesterday and worked out with the 5.137 kilometre lap, how much does that buy each car in terms of its own real estate?
78 metres each, allowing for the length of the car as well. And that's always going to be the problem, because you're jockeying as a driver on that outlap. And we saw lots of drivers slowing down at the last corner and causing other cars to lose time, and that will attract a penalty. And here we're looking at the Rutronic Porsche 96 car. This car was on pole position on the combined times last year, and Picariello in it this year. He wasn't one of the drivers, it was Adlauer, Muller and Niederhausen, so a slightly different lineup for the 96.
One other factor we need to knit in was the fact in the pre-qualifying session, due to be an hour, it was stopped early because a curb had been ripped away and that needed to be replaced. And actually, out of the 61 runners, that Rutronic 96 Porsche was down in 60th place on the timesheets. Their guns had been spiked, but you bring a lot of experience, and a lot of these drivers do considerable number of races each year on the Nürburgring, a lot of them on the Nordschleife. But this is the regular Grand Prix circuit. Making space, finding some heat in your tyres is vital, but the worst thing you could do is drop it off or exceed track limits. You get the number of warnings and you have your times taken away, and you'll see a quick time come up. You look at the timing screen, it's disappeared. They've already got the penalty. So everybody knows they've got to be super focused, and the role of the race engineer here is as important as that of the driver, I would merit, in terms of getting the car out into space, and then the driver can deliver.
Yeah, and talking about space, look how close those 2 cars are. The 48 Windward against the 96 championship contenders right in pit lane. 61 cars. Pit lane so busy, look behind, you can see cars having to share garages. Not enough garages for the best GT championship in the world. And that is one of the strategies to try and find some space, is go early. The fast lane is open, so we can queue up there. The problem is you're losing tyre temperature, so the tyres might not be in that optimal window. And it is chilly this morning here, 14 degrees air and only 14 degrees track at the moment. So if the window is out of it for the tyres, but you've got some space, you're still not going to do the lap time. It's double jeopardy sometimes.
Right, cars leaving the pit lane led by Roman Leroux in the number 35 Aston Martin from Walkenhorst Motorsport. Let me just go through the championships. I mentioned the overall title race with the Windward Racing number 48 Mercedes, the 32 Team WRT Porsche, and the 96, BMW, and the 96 Porsche of Rutronic Racing go down to gold. And Harry King, Chris Lallum and Thierry Vermeulen are way clear in the Verstappen.com Aston Martin. In fact, they could almost put the title in their pocket. But look at those points, super close between those top 3 crews. 1 point for pole position. They'll take it with both hands, not just to get the point, but also to make sure they're starting ahead of 60 other cars when it comes to the race this afternoon. And that let's just talk about the first corner for a a second, because at the start of a race, Nürburgring, you always think you've got a chance into the first corner, but it does tighten and come back on you, and you see every single race someone is going to have a moment or two.
Yeah, we saw it last year, didn't we? It was chaos at turn 1. It tends to be a concertina effect. A car gets turned around and then everyone's blind to that car, and it really is a big issue for the drivers. You can see it's downhill into 1. Look at all the rubber on the racing line. The bumps there as well trigger these cars harder into the ABS. So soon as you hit that, you lose braking efficiency, and then you're straight into turn 2, which goes straight into 3, which goes straight into 4, and that's why we see wild starts here at the Nürburgring.
Well, it makes it a popular place to come racing. Going down through the classes, we mentioned that gold class is led and almost the title in the bag for Verstappen.com Aston Martin. SRO Motorsport leading the way. Mex Janssen, Wilmore and Garth Verbursky in silver. They've got a 16-point advantage. Don't forget there is still the point for pole coming up. And in bronze, Dustin Blattner, Conrad Lawson and Dennis Marshall, Kessel Racing, Ferrari. They are 21 points clear. So almost a hand on the trophy, but it may yet for them go to the final round at Barcelona. So out we go. The early birds, including that third place in the championship Rutronic Racing Porsche, they're going to hope that when they come past the start, they're flying that. There isn't a flurry of cars coming out of the pit lane. The last time we saw the pit lane, it was full of cars, and it was still about maybe 40 or 50 more to come out onto the track. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, I thought Guven was going to try and go for a slipstream. The two Porsches, different teams working together. They were our front row last year. The 96 we're looking at now was on pole, and the black Porsche behind from Schumacher CLRT was on second. It's a good apex for turn number 1. That's the hard thing as a driver. Your low fuel, your brand new tyres, potentially for the first time of the weekend. The teams are only given 5 sets of new tyres. 3 of those sets will have to be used in quali across their 3 drivers, as we look at Adam Small in the Garage 59 car, one of the COM2 Aston Martins, making its way out in front of the Pure X 911, 911 there, and there is the Century BMW making its way down pit lane. Still a lot of cars in pit lane though, so those Porsches on their push laps will want these cars to make sure out the way if they're on an out lap.
Yeah, now just explain, if someone's watching our qualifying for the first time, why aren't all 61 cars out for all of the 15 minutes to make space on the track? Talk through the life cycle of a brand new tyre here at the Nürburgring.
It's definitely got a peak of 2 laps. So when the tyre's brand new, the rubber's at its softest, so it affords you the most grip. The problem is that does eventually go away. 5 kilometers, so you do that twice, suddenly that 10 kilometers of life takes it away. And last year, Engel was the fastest man in qualifying. Yeah, the car wasn't on pole, but him in the Mercedes, fastest on a 53.1, and it was his second lap that was his fastest. And then after that, it dropped off by 1 second. So if it's not done on those first 2 laps, you're done. And to do 2 laps, you only need 4 minutes, so that's why you're not out there for the full 15.
Exactly. So what we're seeing on the screen, the purple graphic for Ayhancan Guven means he's fastest in the first sector. That's all the way from the start line down to just before the turn 8 hairpin at the bottom of the hill. And then he's banged in the best middle sector too. So for Schumacher CLRT with their Porsche, they look as though they're setting the early marker. Alessio Picariello about 4/10 down on them. First time should be coming onto the board any moment now. Christian Cronjes, car 34, he's moved to the top of the timesheets. Walkenhorst got both them, 2 of their Aston Martin's out very early on. So 1 minute 54.9 is now the best time, because Ayhancan Guven and Picariello have pipped Cronjes too. 154.9 play 155.3. So 2 Porsches at the top of the pile. Don't forget they've got qualifying sector 2, session 2 and session 3 to follow. Now the car has been absolutely flying in bronze class all year. Dustin Blattner and the Kessel Racing Ferrari. Car 74, says 74 on the windscreen. Don't worry, that's not his position. It could be as high as 61, of course, or as low as 61, depending how you look at it, because we've got 61 cars in this field. But Dustin is out on track, looking to deliver yet another. We've had his, beg your pardon, it's Conrad Lawson. Now Aston Martins have been going rather well this weekend, and Matteo Drudi, he's fastest of all. He's outstripping thus far 2/3 the way around the lap here. The pace of Ayhancan Guven. Maybe we'll get down to the mid 1 minute 54s. Here he comes, 007, 6th in the championship, coming here to the Nürburgring. In the Endurance Championship, of course, we have the overall championship when it combines with the points as well from the 5-race sprint series, or 5-round sprint series. Matteo Drudi, 154.340 seconds. So he's 6/10 of a second nearly clear of Ayhancan Guven. But Guven the second time around, you know what, doing exactly what you said. 2 good laps you could potentially get out of the Pirelli rubber in qualifying.
Yeah, and he's up at the moment. You can see that on the graphic, 1/10 quicker than Drudi. Last year, that pole, 53.9. Are we going to get anyone into the 53? Slightly different tyre this year. Not really much in performance. Guven on the flashes, trying to get the Garage 59 car in front out of his way. And this was the problem we said about if you go early, these guys are on their out lap. They don't care. They're just prepping their tyres ready for their push. Smalley does get out of the way, but that's 2 or 3 tenths lost. And I think this is now no longer going to be a pole lap for Guven.
Yeah, and certainly bearing in mind he was looking to try and gain 6/10 of a second to go to the very top. He's lost more than he's gained, so he's sitting third. He's actually now been pipped on that lap by Picariello crossed the line ahead of him to move into second, and then Guven comes across, drops down to third overall. Teammates standing in the garage, waiting, already suited, ready to go, because we've got the next 2 sessions coming up very fast indeed. Leading the way in the silver class is Romain Leroux. He was one of the first drivers. He was the first driver out of the pit, so his Aston Martin 5th overall at the moment. Leading the bronze class is Ralph Bone, knows this circuit forward, backwards and sideways with Herbers Motorsport. And the gold class is at the moment being led by Adam Adelson, racing with Tom Sargent and Elliot Skier in the Wright Motorsports Porsche. Green and yellow caught your eye with its great livery yesterday. A few twitches of various people coming out. That was the number 17 Mercedes. You don't normally see Lucas Stoltz make a mistake, and that shows how hard he was pushing and how there's still that little vestige of dampness from the rain shower this morning.
I think he was worried he's going to catch the BMW on this lap he's onto, but he backed into Feller. I think that could attract a penalty. Feller will not be happy with that. They're now all compromised on to their next lap. Drudy crossing the line again, just in front of Lawson, who goes 5th overall. That's an amazing result for the bronze car there of 74. Dennis Marshall very quick, so is Blattner, their teammates. They're looking strong in the bronze class.
Yeah, Conrad Lawson really has got that car going very nicely. Kessel Racing, this just seems their season, dominating the bronze class. Now, Ferrari ended up fastest yesterday with the number 50 AF Corsa car in that foreshortened pre-qualifying session, but Antonio Fuoco set the time then. Now, the target time, 1 minute 54.3 seconds. Track conditions clean, and unlike yesterday, the chicanes, well, I say the chicanes, the uphill Schumacher S and then the uphill chicane at the end of the lap are not scattered yet with gravel, but they will become the race, and maybe even by the third of the qualifying sessions.
Yeah, Farfus held up there. Dono's backed out of the lap. Guven went purple again on his 3rd lap, crosses the line slightly slower. I think that's our illustration from Guven there, that the tyres have got 2 laps like we thought, and then they drop off. Dono's given that lap up, even though it was strong, to get another go, and that's the problem with all the traffic. As a driver, you're pleading with your engineer, find me space, but the space is evolving because you've got 60 other cars alongside you doing the same thing.
It's a concertina being squeezed. Hats off at the moment to David Perel, silver class runner. He's got 2 new teammates this weekend, and he has gone into 2nd place. He's just 1.158 of a second down on the ultimate pace set by Matteo Drudy. Picariello still in 4th behind Guven. Richard Leeds making it 3 Porsches in 3 places. Look, the nervous tension. Maxime Martin bobbing up and down. Where is his car going to be at the end of the 1st, 2nd, the 2nd and the 3rd? And then, of course, the cumulative time is what defines our pole position.
The thing about David Perel, 2nd overall, I think that could be a precursor to how quick the Ferrari is here. Are we going to see a pace from the 50 car of Dono? The 51 as well has been up there this year as well. Jen Klinsmann on your timing screen there in the BMW. The Almanar racing car was very quick yesterday with all 3 drivers. Here it is, the white and black WRT run BMW. At the moment, I'd say the traffic looks okay as he's getting towards the end of Sector 2. He's got Lawson in front, who's been fast.
Yeah, seeing some names you don't normally see at the top. Etienne Celli went to 5th. He's been reduced to 6th place because Alessio Rivero, you talked about the pace of Ferraris, has gone to the very top. Best time so far, 1 minute 54.290 seconds. That's just 5/100ths of a second quicker. Klingman has been super fast all weekend. We're still seeing some really quick drivers not getting to the top because their laps have been compromised. So it's about getting a clear lap, and we expect, I think, 30 cars are going to be within a second come the end of qualifying.
I agree with that, and Harry King behind was quick and backed out of it. That's been the common theme. They've done their first push lap and then gone, I need another chance, I back out of it. And that is brave as a driver to throw away a lap time, because if your next lap is compromised, suddenly you're on for a lap that would have put you top 30. And then you're getting greedy and go, no, I want to be top 5. Let's see how that plays out. Farfus does go top 5, 5th place, highest BMW at the moment. Come to you getting ready. Matteo Drudy happy with his job at the moment, 2nd overall. But that shows the tyres are gone. There's 5 minutes remaining. He's already back in the garage.
You know what? It's a bit of a tactic as well, though. If you go fairly early in the session, it means your second driver can start early in their session. It gives you scope. You can adjust accordingly. But if you go late in the first session, it gives you very little scope to adapt to when you go out in session 2, when you go out in session 3. So at the moment, it's Ferrari, Alessio Rivera, Matteo Drudy with that, very comprehensive job for him in the 07 Aston Martin. David Perel, top of the silver class in third. Ihan Guven still pressing off. And what we saw yesterday was quite a few cars going very, very wide indeed out of turn 16, which is the uphill chicane. And it was one of the Walker North Motorsport Aston Martin.
I think it was the 270 Come To You car that was off on the grass, and that's going to be compromising this man here, Kelvin van der Linde, and that's the compromise. There would have been a yellow flag out. How much has he slowed down there? We're on board now with the 51 of Rivera. He's still pushing hard. What's he got as he crosses the line? He doesn't improve because of that yellow flag.
Van der Linde goes into third place. Good lap. Yeah, maybe he too was slightly compromised by the yellow flag up there between turn 16 and 17. The championship leader by 1 point at the moment, and maybe not after this, because if one of the rivals gets, if the car is second place in the championship, 32 BMW takes pole position, they'll get the point to go equal with the man filter number 48 Mercedes. But at the moment that is down in 10th place with Lugiara, and he's got cars in front, cars behind. Not ideal. The clock continues to count down. Just over 3 minutes remain out of the 15 in qualifying session number 1 here at the Nürburgring.
A few cars that we've kind of missed is Joseph Loke in a Garage 59 car, not the one on shot. James Baldwin and the other one stand in at the moment. That's a mega job. The Ford of Riebelhaus as well in 11th. Kobe Powell's in 8th. There's some very fast drivers not inside the top 15 at the moment. Lucas Stoltz, Harry King are drivers that aren't in positions I'd expect them to be.
Yeah, we're just looking to see where the quick times are coming as the clock counts down. Quite a few drivers. We saw David Perel reporting back to the pits. He'll be proud. 4th place for now and leading the Silver Cup class. With Kobe Powell's actually going well, just 4 places further back. 3rd in the Silver class is Riebelhaus in, 2 Fords in 11th and 12th. So they're starting to show their hand. This is a circuit that the team that runs them, Hout Racing team, knows very well. Maybe that's a good chance for them.
We're seeing Bortolotti's time there, but where are Lamborghini? Look at that. Race winners last year here, of course. Spa 24-hour winners this year. The top Lamborghini at the moment, 25th place with Sandy Mitchell. Here is Lucas Stoltz. We're talking about him being further down than he would want to be. 20th at the moment. This is his gone onto his 3rd flying lap. What's the tyre got left? He's got a bit of space, but it's been that Century BMW the whole session. There's the Stella Corvette, our 10th manufacturer we've not mentioned yet, outside the top 40 at the moment.
So looking on AF Corsa, Fuoco just looking at the screens. Where's he going to come? People trying to find space on the track, but the clock is counting down into the final couple of minutes. Jens Klingman squeaking out a bit more time, but a car now he's backed off. But he'll just have enough time if he wants to get round to the finish and have another crack at it. But certainly, it's such a compromise here. But if you're lucky, and if you're helped to be lucky by your race engineer, you might find space. But that could be on one lap, but they can't do anything about what happens on the following one.
Yeah, riding on board with Rivera again. I can see his delta time on the dash, the red bar at the bottom. 1.6 seconds off his fastest, so he's backed out of this. Expect him to box this lap. He's just trying to bring the car back. If you do bring it back early, like you said, Bruce, the team have more time, but the brakes dissipate the heat. So sometimes there is a positive to actually coming in right at the end and bolting those tyres on. Marnie's still improving, however, though. 2 really strong sectors for this blue 64 HRT Performance Ford. Can we get a Ford inside the top 10? The clouds starting to come over as well. It's looking gloomier.
Certainly is. Brings back flashbacks from last year's Nürburgring 24 hours. We couldn't even see the commentary box, the race tyre from the commentary box right across the track. And often you have it on the hilltop and up to 4th place for Arjun Maini. He actually knows the circuit very, very well indeed, but that will give them absolute boost for the remaining couple of sessions. They've been working their way forward through the year, and it's great. You can't come into GT3 and expect to be at the top right away. It takes several seasons. It's all about building blocks, but also getting the confidence to come with it. And pushing very hard. Dan Harper, well, he's improved a lot in the 2nd sector, went down in the 1st sector, but he goes into 8th place. He's the 2nd of the BMW drivers. The best at the moment is Kelvin van der Linde, 3rd place overall, 2nd in the championship. That's a good building block to be added to in sector qualifying 2, qualifying 3, and maybe they can get a point. But down in 30th position, Mirko Bortolotti, not even good enough to be in our top 25 graphic on the left of the screen. This is a driver who knows the circuit well. He's been racing Lamborghini Huracans for years, and gold standard, or probably platinum standard driver at this level. There he is down in 30th.
And again, I can see on his delta time, he's already 3/10 down. He's still pushing. This will be his last lap. And is this a car issue? Is this where they've gone with the setup? We've got 2 fast teammates taking over from Bortolotti in Engstler and Pepper, so we'll keep an eye if their combined time goes up. But that time just edging away, 4.5 tenths down now. The tyre's gone. I think he'll actually box at the end of this lap through the Schumacher S's. The balance looking okay. Mirko looking relaxed with the grip of his hands. It just doesn't seem to have the pace he needs. That gap gap has come back down though, so 2/10 is finding time. Maybe they've gone somewhere with the setup, and the drivers now in this early morning session after a reduced pre-qualifying, learning the car potentially where it's at right now.
It could be, but listening to Luca Engster, one of his teammates, he wasn't too happy during qualifying. He just sensed the performance wasn't there for Lamborghini, but this is backed off and being brought back to the pits, up to the turns 14, 15, 16. You can't see the entrance, well, you can't see the exit until you get to the entrance, and then it's very tricky. You need various formats of the chicane actually use over the course of the chicane. But right, Rivera, top of the charts at the moment there by just 5/100ths of a second, handing over to the next driver in line, which is Vincent Abril. And really that crew are looking for a top result. They did come third in the Spa 24 hours, but for Ferrari it's been a question of what might have been this year. But today I'm starting to sense it could be a better meeting for them.
Yeah, we've got 6 manufacturers inside the top 7 as well. We've got exactly 1 second to the 1,000th, covering half the field. The top 31 cars all covered by that second. But look at the gloom coming in. Is that just a bit of mist? Is it a bit of rain potentially? The teams maybe want to get out early in Q2 to make sure they get the best of the track.
Or at least put a circuit map on the driver's steering wheel so they can see where they're turning. Yep, standing from the commentary box, we can only just make out the tower of the castle over Nürburgring village, which isn't that far away, and it's often a bellwether here in the Eiffel Forest. Yesterday, I think eventually the air temperature got up to about 18 degrees, but track temperature never got very high at all. And today, a little breeze blowing down the pit lane, but right now the drivers can't focus on that. Their main question is there any rain coming in the next 20 minutes or so? The quick change around, driver 1 out of the car, driver 2 gets on board. But let's just go down that order at the end of that first qualifying session. Alessio Rivera top, number 51 Ferrari from AF Corsa, the number 7 Aston Martin second with Matteo Drudi, just looking. Oh, we've got flashes of rain just splashing on a few lenses. So down in the pits there is a little bit of rain, or maybe it's just hanging mist, I would say.
Yeah, the teams will be getting twitchy. Some teams actually leaving tyres on from the first session to keep that heat in, the brakes like I was saying, but that is going to roll in pretty fast, the weather.
Well, I tell you what, let's go down and hear from the driver who was quickest of all. He's Alessio Rivera with Alex.
Well, what a very nice lap that was. Managed to get it in just before the rain came down. How is it out there, and what sort of car are you handing over?
The car felt really good. We worked a bit during free practice because we were not really okay, especially with the tire temperature. And I have to say, during qualifying was good. I did the lap time in the first quali lap, which was not the best one because I think in the second one could be better, but I had a bit of traffic. But the important is to be there, so I'm really happy.
Yeah, you certainly are. Great start. Thank you. Well done.
Well done. Anyone who can come out top of a pile, not just in a field as competitive as this, but on a track where there is so little scope and so much chance for someone else to scupper your lap. Plus the track maybe it was slightly greasy at the start, but what we heard, we didn't detect until the cars came in. There was a little bit of rain just starting to fall, and it continues to fall over the Nürburgring. I still think in the next session the track won't be particularly wet, but it will offer the scope for those painted curbs to just send someone spinning around. But at the moment it's Ferrari from Aston Martin, from BMW and Ford showing a very good hand to be fourth fast. And there are those times. And top driver in the silver class, so well done indeed for David Perel, car number 12, entered by Rinaldi Racing, German team. Moving down top in gold was Dan Harper for Paradine Competition. That's in 8th place overall in his BMW. And top in the gold class, we have to go down to Tim Heinemann, who's been really strong all weekend. 15th overall for the Herbert Motorsport team. All 3 of those drivers know the track very well indeed. There we go through the graphics with Heinemann on the left, fastest in the Gold Cup. And again, looking at the times, you might be he's down the order in 15th, but he's still just over half a second down on the pace. And as Joe pointed out, the top 30 cars out of 61 covered by 1 second. It really is a blink of an eye. So you can have one little slip up, and look, there we have down in 30th position Mirko Bortolotti, Luca Engster, Jordan Pepper, fast all season, 9/10 off the pace, down in 30th place. Of course they'll work their way forward in the race, but it just goes to show if you didn't get the traffic right, if you didn't have your tyre pressures right, and you just simply didn't nail it in the way you would have wanted to do, then you're going to suffer. You'll be down the order, but there is a chance. Don't forget, all 3 drivers have their times combined to give the winning average, and then we'll see at the end of qualifying session 3 who's taken the outright pole and who's taken the points in their respective classes for class pole. We're getting in the 4th of the 5 endurance rounds for 2025. There is the castle. So I couldn't see that a few moments ago, not properly, but it's still very misty. But we're at a high point in the Eiffel Forest here, and often the lower part of the circuit, down around turn 8, the hairpin, you could be in sunshine, while up here you're in cloud. But anyhow, it will blow in, it will blow out, but it's certainly an extra element in this qualifying session. Right, already the cars lining up for qualifying session number 2. Porsche appears to be at the front. Antares Au is waiting to get out onto the circuit. And 61 cars trying to fit onto a circuit that is just 5.137 kilometres. As Joe did the maths, worked out, if they put them all with an equal distance between them, they'd have 78 metres each, which when you're travelling at the speeds they're travelling is next to nothing. But really it is about trying to get nobody obstructing you and get a clean run out of that final corner. To get the ultimate speed onto your flying lap, but you can get 2 if you possibly get it right.
Look at the queue. We saw Q1, maybe what, 6-7 cars waiting in fast lane. It now looks like it's at least half the field. There's going to be a lot of awkward blending. AF course doing a good job here with the 50 car, just pushing it in there. The mechanic probably will block the VSR Lambo with his body. That's how much these teams want to win. It's like on the motorway when there's roadworks and it filters down the lanes. How brave are you staying in the lane with that red X to try and save some time and not make any friends? The 48 car towards pit exit is going to have a hard job of blending in there. We've seen contact in pit lane at the start of sessions, and I think we're on for a racy pit exit.
And why are they all rushing to get out? Because there is this light rain that's coming. Maybe their weather graphics are saying there's a lot more coming this way, but let's get the track while it's as dry as can be. So for the number 48 crew, which is sorry, not number 48, it's the Porsche crew at the front of the queue, out onto the circuit they go. So the first few, now what do you do? Do you say, okay, we're going to watch and we'll wait until this lot have set their first flying lap, then we'll go out onto the track, then we'll warm up, they'll come in, we'll have clear track. But this moment, with the rain already on the lenses of the cameras, you know, they've clearly all decided to do exactly the same thing. CSA Racing, you know, I'm getting out of AF Corsa, but yeah, if you have to wait, if you're polite, you're going to be down the order and your tactics are compromised.
I let nobody out. The problem is you let one out, he then lets someone else out, and you've lost 8-9 places on track. I'm not here to make friends, so that would be my attitude. I'd say everyone was really respectful, so they're the opposite to me. Clever move by the Valkenhurst Aston there. Because the pit exit relatively tight here, no one can overtake him, so he's creating his own buffer zone now. David Pittard in the 34 car, just getting his gap. He's now got to go. It's almost like a safety car restart when he got to the end of the pit blend line there. Look at the gap. Great job, David Pittard.
Yeah, well, he's a Nürburgring expert. He decided to, when his career wasn't going where he wanted, he was encouraged to come and race at the Nürburgring in the long-distance races, and did suitably well and has won many of those. And that has put him up to become a works driver with Aston Martin. So it really, really has worked for him. But most of his driving is done on the Nordschleife, the full mighty circuit, 25 kilometres up and down through the forest. But look how much worse the weather has become. That is hanging cloud over the track. Not really seeing any wipers on particularly, but already that little air of greasiness will be there for all of them to contend with. No spray, of course, from the track as yet, but it's getting worse by the moment. Team WRT, often masters of working the tactics of when to go out on the circuit, they've decided to go out effectively at the tail of the train.
Yeah, absolutely. They've lost 1 minute and 45. If the rain comes in, that's going to be the negative. Positive is they're going to have the best chance. The wiper going on the 992 car there. A bit more water on the camera lens as well. And I think Caroli in the Winwood Mercedes is on the hurry up. He wants to get out now. He's trying to get his gap. He's going to try and back up. Will he have to defend from any cars in front, or can he just go as we get our first cars crossing line? They've got the best chance of the weather, but they could potentially catch some cars on their outlap.
Yeah, I think Matteo Caroli, this is where race engineers really earn their call. Maxi Guts there in car number 9 for Boots and VDS, and that Mercedes, he's got himself into a good position, or his crew has helped get him in a good position. But you know, when you come here and your pit garage is near pit in, you have much less chance of getting your car really to the sharp end of the field when you have a start of a session like this. But also, I have to keep saying the number, we've got 61 cars crowding onto the track, so the chances of someone having a problem, but also if you go out late in the session, there's a possibility the session could be stopped when you haven't put a time on the board. So it's ifs and buts and maybes, and then it's up to the drivers to absolutely perform to the tip-top level. Yeah, and that's where the good teams get the drivers, and they have top engineers involved in a pre-qualifying briefing, decide their game plan. Of course, the best ones have plan A, B and C, depending on what unfolds beneath them. But I think these cars now with rain lights on, that's the message from race control, telling these drivers just have them
on, I think we're going to start to see potentially some slower lap times. Normally Q2 faster than Q1 because there's less fuel in the car. Last year here, Q1 to 2, 8/10 difference. Q2 was quicker. It was a huge gain on that. But I think today it's going to be a lot more similar between the sessions.
Yeah, you do normally see that sort of unfurling of the pace. It comes faster and faster, but right now, track space is everything, and certainly Maxi Goetz has put himself in a good position, but Garage 59 McLaren tucked right behind him, and I think we just need to also highlight the performance of Joseph Loke in that first session. He was absolutely mighty for them, up in 6th place overall, a young driver. Again, you get this constant stream of young single-seater drivers coming across. They don't always adapt immediately to GT3, but he's certainly been looking and learning from, well, as he pointed out, from Marvin Kirchhoff, a teammate, and certainly it's a good person to learn from. So the cars continue to emerge from the murk. We're going to see some times being put on the board any second now, and we'll gauge what the pace is going to be in this session. Yeah,
and what can the murk of Maximilian Götz do as he crosses the line? We're still a long way off Q1 times at the moment, nearly 3.5 seconds to find for him, but the AF course car with that combined time at the moment fast enough as people start to set their second times. We're seeing them flood in, and it's Sven Muller on a 56.6 at the moment, fastest in this session.
Yeah, fastest by half a second, but look at that queue of traffic. One little slip up from any of those, but also have to keep pointing out. Some drivers, they'll come out of that final chicane, they'll back it off to get the ultimate run, and therefore the fastest pace out of the final corner to take on to their next lap, but it can block the drivers behind. So the officials be looking out for that. Drivers don't try and interrupt anyone else, they're just so focused on what they need, but we have seen compromise already. In session 1, I expect probably some more in this session as well. But for now, on combined times, it's the 50 Ferrari is still at the top. No one has toppled that. But in this session, it's Antonio Fuoco fastest, Simon Gachet going very well, the CSA Racing McLaren second fastest in this session, and David Pittard third fastest in his Aston Martin for Walkenhorst.
Yeah, Jette Krohn held up there by the Santalok Qatari Audi, so he's got a clear lap. This one, Charles Wirtz, very quick in Sector 1. Jette Krohn goes fastest in this session, even with that compromised run to the line. Charles Wirtz in Sector 3 now. Vince Abril gets the 51 car up there as well. And the rain and the fog, mist, seems to be clearing slightly as Kirchhofer puts in a mega lap there, 55.7.
Yeah, that's fastest in session by just over a quarter of a second. So Charles Wirtz then goes top in this session, 1 minute 54.8. Now the Rutronic Porsche, Sven Muller has gone for a rotation. That wasn't what the doctor ordered.
No, that's a rare mistake. Is that because the track's getting slippier, or was he just having to push that car beyond its means? He slots into an okay gap for the next one. Hopefully doesn't have any flat spots on it, but look at these lights. They're looking so bright. I think the cloud cover just rolling in and out, and it's looking more like a race, isn't it, as cars are desperate to get a time on the board.
Absolutely. One of the CSA Racing McLaren's going quite slowly. Now this is such a critical corner coming out of the chicane. Do you just keep carrying your speed, or do you back it off and then bank on the next lap, getting it right, getting a better run through the final corner, therefore onto the next lap? But right now, time is counting down. We're nearly halfway through this 15-minute session. Nose to tail, more like a race than a qualifying session. But at the moment, on combined times, it's the 32 BMW from Team WRT, second in the championship. If they can take this point, that will put them equal in the championship lead with the 48-man filter Mercedes. Ifs and buts, and it ain't happened yet.
Abril's on a lap here that could get the 51, but there's the Qatari Audi. You can see Jesse Krohn, how much quicker he was. Team looking on. I think Abril has to go for a lunge here into the chicane. Is the Qatari Audi going to help? He's not. He's going to have to follow him through the chicane. He'll be as late as he can on the brakes, carrying the speed here into the final corner at 17. He's got to get down the inside here. If this lap is going to keep going, this is now time lost. 2, 3, 4, 5 tenths, and it's going to hurt his next lap as well because his run's compromised.
Oh, you know, you're just trying to work your space in the traffic. Really feel for Vince. He was super fast there. He goes top in this particular session. 1 minute 54.729, tenths of a second clear of Charles Wirtz, and on aggregate that still keeps them at the top, the 51 Ferrari, but it could have been more. It's just, of all the cars you get, yellow sector at turn 1 of the sister cars is off down there at the first corner 1, the Santalok Audis as as well.
Is that one
Red
of the
flag.
lunges I was saying that needs to be done? I'd assume the Ferrari has lunged that Santalok Audi there. Stop. The clock has stopped, sorry, 7.5 minutes, so this will resume. And you can see the overall combined times now on your left, updated with every bit of lap. Yeah, I think we've had a lunge there, haven't we, from the 50 car of Fuoco.
Yeah, Fuoco, we saw him looking very intensely at the screens during qualifying session 1. He's cannoned by looks things up the inside of car number 25, Santalok Racing Audi, Paul Everard. One in the gravel, the other there. There's no way one can continue. So I was saying earlier, you know, if you go out late in a session, you run the risk of not getting your times in before something may happen. And this is precisely what might have spiked some of the guns of the front runners.
The interesting bit here is that 50 car is third overall at the moment.
Exactly.
He needs and is trying to get that car back to his team to see if they can fix that car and get it out in session 3 to keep going. The marshal telling him no, he's trying to get it rolling. Can they do it? It looks like it's drivable. It's got a front left tyre gone, but no, Fuoco is out. I think that's their session done now. They're going to get outside assistance, and yeah, he's A-OK. Paul Everard too getting out of the car, but I expect that to be a lunge from Fuoco because he wanted to get the car up there. But hindsight makes stupid people like me look clever. He was third. Did he need to take such a risk? Because now that car, at best, is going to start 60th. It's a fight between him and the Santalok Audi because they're not going to set a Q3 time.
Well, that's a fight from the bottom rather than the top then. So let's take a look at the replay of what went on. Who was the innocent party? Well, coming down already, the Santalok Audi has been pitched round. And the car behind, one suggests, is the one that tipped it, which is, unfortunately, Antonio Fuoco. So for his teammates, we saw Alessio Dono and Arthur Leclerc up on the pit wall. And it looks though Arthur will not get a chance to even go out in the session, which will be very, very frustrating for him. But worse than that, they were in such a strong position as we got to the second of the 3 sessions that have to be combined to take pole position with their sister car, number 51, on provisional pole position. That is quite a blow and a help for all of their other rivals who are trying to gather championship points hand over fist.
Just looking at some cars down the order. The VSR Lamborghini 7th has had a session, hasn't it? Because Sandy Mitchell struggled to get inside the top 20. Mapelli in it this session, 5th in his group. So that's why the car has jumped up. The Paradigm BMW going super strong as well. So is the Almanar car, the 777 fastest gold class driver, Ben Tuck at the wheel. So they've now got Al Faisal Al Zubair to go in the 3rd session. Verstappen.com just behind them. Look how tight those gaps are. That's 2 sessions now combined, and some cars still haven't really shown their hand in Q2.
No, exactly. So Fuoco's standing trackside, no doubt replaying that incident, and in racing driver fashion, probably blaming the driver who was in front of him. But physics are what they are, and the Santalok Racing car, the Audi, pitched around there. So Fuoco looking down at it and then looking back at his own car and seeing the damage on his front left corner. Trying to kick a bit of the debris off, but one doesn't suggest that is going to be out in session number 3. So what was potentially, it could have even become a Ferrari lockout of the front row when the 3 sessions were combined, but we'll never know what pace Arthur Leclerc could have achieved. We never really know what pace Fuoco could have achieved if he was on yet another flying lap. But that's being winched away. The gravel is being cleared up. And the good news is the Santalok Racing Audi is able to at least drive back to the pits under its own steam.
Yeah, so Everard there, 4 seconds slower the lap before. So let's listen into this 98 car. What are they saying?
P4 at the moment, P4. Okay, I think that's it. The vehicle, the tires go on and I called the people. We had a decent lap, the track was getting a bit slippery already. Copy. Was a good one. We are P4 overall. We have 7 minutes remaining. So you think if it's gonna be a restart, we will not put any more pedal at time. So the track was fully dry. So you think if it cannot get the track better now, right? No, I don't think it's gonna get better, unfortunately.
Okay, really interesting team radio there from Rover Racing, and that's the realistic voice of Jesse Krohn. He's assessed what he could do. He thinks the track conditions may be getting slightly worse, or more to the point, the tyres have had their moment, so really not much point going out. We don't know yet if we're going to get a restart for the remaining 7 minutes and 25 seconds, so pretty much the session stopped halfway through. 15 minutes were planned, but it doesn't look as though we're going to get that. But that's a sort of maturity that comes from being a works driver for a long time and at the top level. Jesse Krohn going, no, that's the situation. We're not going to improve. Use the time accordingly.
Yeah, and like you said, it's the tyre more the conditions. I think the tyres are now done a heat cycle, so they will have just gone that step harder. And yeah, 4th in his session and 4th overall, actually. So nice and consistent for the 98 car. As you get a super slow-mo of this Winward man filter, Mercedes bouncing over the curbs on the exit of the Schumacher S's, turns 9 and 10. That's where we're going to see a lot of gravel brought on over the duration of a 3-hour race this afternoon.
Right, let's just talk about that number 48 car. It's not in the top 20, it's not in the top 30, it's 31st position. Lucas Aaron, Matteo Caroli, you don't expect to see that, but Mercedes haven't looked at sorts, really, here at the Nürburgring. Again, the weather is not clearing yet. You can just about make out the base of the castle over Nürburg village, but the stoppage in this second of the 3 qualifying sessions caused by the number 50 Ferrari, Antonio Fuoco at the wheel, having contact down into turn 1. The tightish right-hander that starts the lap with the number 25 Santalok Racing Audi. Paul Everard has got out of that one, but doesn't look as though this number 50 car will be able to go out in session number 3. If you don't set times in each of the sessions, tough. You're going to be at the back of the field. That is a disaster for AF Corsa.
Yeah, timing screen as well. Caroli was actually on a mega sector 1 when the red flag came out. He's in 39th in his individual session. The other thing the timing screen tells, which is a great story that Ferrari hoisted up, is Fuoco's last sector 3. Purple, faster than anyone. He would have been G'd up at the start of that next lap, and again that would have just skewed his risk versus reward move on the Paul Everard Audi you see in shot. He's having to come back at 80 kilometers an hour, so he's stuck to the rules there. You can see the damage on the rear right corner, but suspension looks okay, so I think Santalok have got a chance here of getting the car back out, either in this session for Everard or definitely for Q3.
Yeah. So every time you add a car to the field, you stretch the possibilities of things going wrong. 55 cars last year, 61 this year. Now cars already starting to go down towards pit exit. Session will resume in 20 seconds time, so they will get to complete qualifying session number 2. Everything else, this packed agenda. Boy, it is a busy weekend here at the Nürburgring. And again, we see Au making sure his Porsche is at pit exit ahead of everybody else for Rutronic Racing. That's in the 97 car, the blue one. He wants that clear track. Everyone else wants a clear track, but he gets it first. And Jules Gounon has made his way into second place. As I said, it's not a strong weekend for Mercedes. He too is not where he'd want to be in the aggregate listing. In fact, you have to look to the second timing page, and for a crew as strong as the 17 crew, it's Lucas Stoltz and Gounon. Well, why be? He backs the others up behind. And no, look, Team WRT, the number 32, the car that's second in the championship, moves through ahead of one of the sister cars. That's why the blue BMW pulled out of the way. They have got good track position. All these teams out on the track at the moment really have started from towards pit exit. They had the advantage at getting out into the queue. For the others, they've got to really work it. Imagine the qualifying session isn't 15 minutes, it's 7.5 minutes. That's what they've got to do now. It looks like the track might have dried out a little bit.
Whoa!
And for Gounon, it hasn't been a good weekend. It's just got a whole lot worse.
Wow, that's going to be an interesting investigation. Gounon was playing the game out of pit lane. Just Charles Wirtz think Gounon was playing the game on track, and that looked from that shot like an aggressive move from the BMW. And Gounon, with a huge amount of damage, has parked it up already. I actually don't think it's going to go red flag. I think they're going to be able to recover that car from there. But from the first instance, it didn't look good for the 32 BMW. Penalties, of course, can be given in qualifying that follow into the race. Let's keep an eye on race control.
Well, let's look for a replay from that. Can't see any particular damage, but it was side-to-side contact. But Charles Wirtz, that is not, if it was an aggressive move, that is definitely not from his excellent. Listen to the radio from...
Well, I put the 17 off, but it was moving in front of me 2 times. Copy. Do your job. It's done now. Forget about it. I saw it.
Moving 2 times like he was left to right, weaving the tyre. Of course, he's by himself, so it's a slightly different story. But let's have a look. I think Gounon here is just working the tyres. It's on and out lap, so no one's on a push lap. The second look at it, it makes it look even worse for Charles Wirtz. I think that's going to be a big penalty. That could be a stop and go in the race, is my first look at that. Of course, an onboard view from the WRT BMW changer. Will McKelvey, the engineer there, doing exactly the right thing on the radio, saying, shut up, get on with the job now, let's carry on and let's go. And that's all he can do, is put that out of his mind, but it's going to be back in his mind in about 24 seconds when he goes past that stranded Gunon 17 Mercedes.
It certainly is, yeah, very, very good work. You know, clarity of radio message and also suppression of emotion. But if there's a problem for this one, we've already had the number 50 Ferrari, you know, scupper its chances with its accident into turn one that brought out the red flag, and now potentially the car that's second in the championship and was looking in good position. It's second overall on combined times across the first two sessions. As we stand, it could have got the extra point for pole. The 48 car that leads the championship is down in 31st position. You know what? A car halfway down a 61 car field is the championship leader. So it was a golden opportunity for Team WRT. I'm not saying anything is going to happen, but certainly that incident with Jules Gounon that led to Gounon's Mercedes being fired off the get-speed car, going off to the right of the track, is clearly going to be under investigation. In fact, the message is now on our screen.
Yeah, and at the moment, Vert's not improving, and that's what Jesse Krohn was saying in another BMW, wasn't it? I think the session is done. This car second overall at the moment, so it is going to be hard for Charles Verts to improve this time, of course, because it's already well up there. Someone that is improving, Jan Mardenborough, 59th at the moment in his session. He needs to find some time to keep the strong performance going for the Ford, which at the end of Q1, of course, was 4th overall. So now the combined times, they've dropped a long way down.
Yeah, it's funny. You look at the graph, well, not funny, it's just factual. You look at the graphic at the moment. These are the combined times, session 1 and session 2, as they go. And the Ford has disappeared off the screen. Instead of being 4th, it's not in those top 25 positions. So relying on Roman Andriolo to do his job in his Ford, and likewise Jan Mardenborough in his. And Jan, I'm sure, will start vaulting up the order. Charles Weert, second fastest in session. Still as it was before. Yeah, Mardenborough should be vaulting up the order here. 59th, that number on the left-hand side, the red back graphic. I'm sure that will have a far lower number. 14th, good job there from Jan. Of course, Jan's such an interesting driver, you know, brought into racing through iRacing. And was brought on enormously by Nissan with their driver scholarship, and has made a global career since. But this is the car I wanted to see. Car 30, 48, 33rd, not even in the top half of the grid at the moment. But look, cars in front, cars behind. And Matteo Carola, he was, as you pointed out, Joe, on a really good lap before the red flag was brought out. He's having to do it all over again, and he hasn't got the space in front of him that he wants.
No, and the tyre is going away, 2.5 minutes remaining as well. So the next lap will be his last. And there's the Rover BMW. So they did send the SA Krohn back out. And that could be, even though he doesn't think he's going to improve his time, if they fueled the car for X amount of laps, he's now burning the fuel off for Q3 to make sure that car is light as possible, to make sure that they're A-OK and they can try and keep that car. They had Farfus in Q1, Krohn now, and they've got Super Raffaele Marcello to go in Q3.
Absolutely so. They keep him in a cage at the back of the garage, release him at the ideal moment, and Raffaele, he's scored poles by the handful. Cairoli gets past the Schumacher CLRT. Porsche, now he's trying to get a clean run through the chicane. Just want to praise a lap there from Louis Pret, 4th fastest in his number 58 Garage 59 McLaren. That puts that right up the order into 6th place. So at the moment we've got 2 Ferraris in the top 3, but the one in 3rd position is going nowhere. That was the one that brought out the red flag. That will disappear down at the order when it can't go out in 3. And there is Raffaele Marcello. He's looking at every single graphic he can consider and just analysing, like a ski racer does, how the lap will flow for him. But of course, a ski racer does not have to deal with traffic.
No, he really doesn't. And Cairoli with Luca Engstler in front. That Grasser car struggling with Bortolotti is still struggling. Engstler only 27th in his session. To keep you updated on that, Ben Tuck is on a good lap, one of the few cars improving. Here it is, the Almanar 777 WRT car. It's just been in great form this weekend. It's been quick all season, but just seems to have taken a step forward as a complete car. All 3 drivers, Klingman first, now Tuck, Fawza Al-Zubair, the Omani, the nicest man in motorsport, will do the 3rd session.
Now, we heard Jesse Krohn saying to Rover Racing, no, there's no more time in the tyres. He was 4th at the time when that red flag came out. Only the advance of Louis Pret has moved him down to 5th. So actually, maybe that was a good choice from him. Still sitting 4th on aggregate, though. So that is sort of okay. Sometimes you have to back yourself, back your decision. Just 30 seconds remain until the flag will come out. Rutronic Racing, they're down in 41st position in this session. This is the car that was so well placed in the championship. We saw that rotation, though.
Yeah, and it does look like it could be an improvement. So that car now in 30th, it just dropped again. Where's that going to lift as he crosses the line? Now 31st, that shows you the improvement. Up to 16th, finds half the gap to P1. We touched on Louis Pret. What a lap from Louis Pret. And here he is on screen now, the 58 car, 4th fastest in his session. He's lifted that car up to 8th overall, fastest in the gold class, and he's still improving. He's faster than Marvin Kirchhofer in the sister car at the moment. This has been a phenomenal session for the man from Monaco.
He had to get around the outside of Roman Andriolo there, but Louis Pret seems to grow, yes, in stature with every year. And if your benchmark is Marvin Kirchhofer and you can top that at any point of any session, that is a real accolade. Over the curbing, the point that had to be repaired yesterday, a little bit of a kiss on the grass, but that is no compromise at all from Louis Pret. So what he gained in the first sector, he's lost in the second sector. Still, he's listed 9th in this session, but that car actually moves ahead of the sister car up to 8th overall with that lap. So every little, when I say a 10th of a second, I'm talking thousandths of a second counting at the moment. Jan Mardenborough continuing to advance up the field in his Ford. At the moment it's in, actually it's just dropped down the order as faster laps come in, but moves up to 18th overall. So well done to Jan Mardenborough there. But it's still 2 Ferraris in the top 3, but one of them, car 50, is the one that isn't going anywhere. The checkered flag being waved, that's qualifying session 2, not complete, but for a lot of people it's completion of their flying lap, their final flying lap still to go. But at the end, the AF Corsa 51 Ferrari is at the top of the pile.
Yeah, there's a smattering of green sectors, so let's keep an eye on any improvements towards the sharp end. But just to reiterate, that lap from Louis Pret is a silver graded driver. That's the lap of the session for me. He's 4th overall. Mapelli as well, 7th in his session. So Lamborghini having hopes. Sven Muller still pushing as we see the Bartuan car trying to get out of the way. The dust getting kicked up more and more. Here we have Lulham in the Verstappen.com car, 10th overall at the moment. Looks like he could improve on that for the gold class car that could wrap the championship up. Drops to 11th now. He's going to go up, back up to 10th. Strong lap from Lulham.
Yeah, when I say the last half of the field, that's still 30 cars coming through to complete their laps, but Vincent Abril getting the applause from the team, still on top, the 51 Ferrari. So another Monegasque driver, not driver, who spent a lot of his career racing with Louis Pret, of course. Yeah, he's happy. It's that sort of feeling of satisfaction. You know you're part of a team. You say you're only 33 1/3% of the show, but when your part's gone fine, you've done your role, haven't you? That's it for the morning, but he's got to have the final teammate go out. But when it's Alessandro Pierguidi, you haven't got too much to worry about, have you?
The stress you put yourself under as a racing driver, as we see the Gunon car hoisted out of the way. So another top car out of the way. But the stress you put yourself under as a driver, because you've got such a small window to operate in. I was more relaxed on my wedding day, infinitely, than any qualifying session I've done in my life. You just know the whole weekend is built up to this crescendo of qualifying.
There's Jules Gunon climbing on board the truck with his tattered car. Now let's listen to some radio from car 32 that was in the wars.
Thank you, ready? Stop on the board. Good job, Charles. Ciao, pal. Then we'll have a chat outside. And who was running that front in the Mercedes? All good. We talk outside.
So good from the engineer. I know I've already name-checked Will McKelvey there, but he's saying talk outside the car. Why? Because he knows we're listening. So he doesn't want to give anything away. Super smart there to say, let's talk out the car and we can talk openly. Like when you've just been arrested and your solicitor just gives you the no comment, and it makes you feel a lot better about the situation you're in.
I'll take your word for that, Joe.
I've heard.
Yeah. Keep the bad words to yourself. Right, so certainly Jules Gunon will probably have something to say about that. Charles Weerts, but he's going to do it off air. Very wise. Now, at the end of the session, Matteo Caroli, championship leading man filter. Mercedes there, 22nd on aggregate. That ain't what the doctor ordered. And, sorry, that was 22nd in that session. Now, combined on aggregate, it's still that 51 Ferrari at the top of the pile. Just 0.08 of a second ahead of the Team WRT BMW for now. The sister Ferrari didn't complete the session, but it did get a good lap to put them second on aggregate, but they have to get out in that third session to stay there. Seeing the graphic there, Come To You Racing Aston Martin best in the Silver Cup class. Jamie Day doing the job for them just then, following on from Kobe Powell's Gold Cup. Louis Pret, what a lap from him. He's put his McLaren into 8th place overall to top that gold class. And that was quite a lap. His teammates will be proud. In the bronze class, well, you sort of expect the Paradigm car to be very, very strong indeed. And Dan Harper, followed by Sean Gallel, 15th place overall, leading the Gold Cup class. But no doubting, Alessia Rivera, Vincent Abril, they can have their coffee now, but Alessandro Piagini has to wait and go out in this final session, but they're overall fastest by 0.08 of a second. One 15-minute session to come, and then we'll have the overall aggregate that defines the grid for this afternoon and gives that vital 1 point for pole for whoever ends up top of this 61-car pile.
Just looking at some of the data there on HH Timing, which is an advanced software thing that gives me some insight. The theoretical lap, so if you put the driver's best sectors together to make a lap, Louis Pret's fastest. That's how good that session was. So maybe some traffic, maybe a mistake, but we've already given plenty of plaudits. But this Gold Cup fastest car would have had the fastest time if you put all your sectors together, which is a nice touch. But that is interesting for the race, for Garage 59, for McLaren, for the 58 car.
Certainly Garage 59 are really finding their stride this year. They're starting to gather race wins, but it's all about trying to do it in endurance. Well, I tell you what, we talk of Louis Prat. Let's find out what he actually has to say. He's down in the pit lane with Alex Legui.
God, Louis, you pulled that together, that dialed in nicely. What was it like out there?
Oh, honestly, the car was insane. All weekend we struggled a lot, and the Garage 59 crew, I don't know what they've done overnight, but the car felt really good. It's just a shame that we couldn't use the peak of the tires because obviously of the drizzling, but it was really a nice lap.
Great stead for the race. Well done.
You.
Thank you very much, Louis, and I actually quite like that boff. We all fully understand what that means. It's about nailing every single corner, seeing the gaps in the traffic, but just also on that greasy surface, not being a fool.
Yeah, Kimi Räikkönen, wasn't it, the Boch? And yeah, racing driver never happy. 4th fastest out of 61 cars, fastest silver driver, but he thinks there could have been more, which is what we like to see. Q3 has been delayed ever so slightly, but the fast lane is now open. We're exactly 2 minutes away from the green flag, and there is Pierre Guidi. His two teammates, Dono and Abril, have done the job. He now just needs to do what he's done for his whole career and keep that car at the sharp end to claim pole position for the race later on this afternoon.
And a sad sight on a tracker map is a very slow-moving blue dot, and that's car number 17 on the flatbed being brought back to the garage. Of course, Jules Gounon ended up in the barriers after contact with Charles Weerts, and that was right at the restart of that session when they were both trying to get track position, get heat in their tyres and nail a quick lap. Charles Weerts carried on and Jules Gounon did not. Now, already Kessel Racing put their number 8 Ferrari at pit exit. They're determined to get that position to go out on the circuit. Walkenhorst Motorsport also putting one of their Aston Martins into the line behind her as that comes to you racing. But for everybody else, again, 61 cars, and then even the early movers nearly have contact. But it's all focusing on who can get that point for pole position. But also, some of our top 3 cars in the championship are nowhere. When I say some, I'm talking most notably about the championship leading number 48 Mercedes. That is way down the aggregate order. And likewise, with a spin from Sven Muller, unfortunately hampering his cause, Patrick Niederhauser, is all he can do is what he can do, but already their aggregate time is going to be way down from what they wanted, and they were super quick here last year. And you know, here we have the cars that are 1st and 3rd in the championship sitting side by side in the pits, but it's the one in the middle of their battle at the moment, number 32 WRT BMW, that has the bragging rights when it comes to maybe gathering the most points from this race.
But will it stay there? That was the car with the controversy. So we got plenty of jeopardy. Not that you need it with 61 cars, but the top 3 in the championship, all with a subplot. Niederhauser has been the man in that 96 car this year, in my opinion. They've always gone to him when they need something special, and that's going to be what his job is now in this 3rd qualifying session. A few less cars queuing up than Q2. This is more like Q1, wasn't it? Now the weather seems to have passed through there. Fuminelli in that lead car now heads out as cars start to take more tyres, and this is the optimal timing. Put the tyres on as the flag goes green, and then you can slot somewhere halfway round the lap as these cars make their way out. Real mixture of cars, 10 manufacturers represented here, of course. And if you're watching, you can also download the SRO GT World Challenge app as well, completely free to download on Android, on iOS. It gives you all the information we've got behind the scenes here, so you can keep an eye on some of the subplots that might interest you more than what we're seeing on our pictures.
And let's face it, with 61 cars, there are going to be subplots that don't meet the camera, because there is so much to look at. Of the front-running cars in the championship, the first one of those out onto the track in about 6th or 7th position is the Rutronic Racing Porsche. There it is, 6th in the queue of cars. And Patrick Niederhauser, his job is twofold. Get the tyres up to temperature, make yourself space on the track. If that means you've got to overtake a couple of others who are just also warming up their tyres, then so be it. But for Niederhauser, this is going to be a rescue operation, because look at the graphic on our screen, the top 25 cars, and you won't see his Porsche among those outside the position there. And it is going to be really serious. Another car not in the top 25 is the number 63 Grasser Racing Lamborghini, always one of the favourites for this event, but any of the Lamborghini drivers this weekend they all seem to have long faces. They don't seem to think they've got an opportunity. Conversely, Ferrari drivers look rather happy. Porsche pretty much in the mix. They have been all weekend, but good to see a movement of manufacturers. As Joe said, 10 manufacturers among the 61 cars. That is the gross of GT3. We're just finishing an event, the GT World Challenge Japan event, or Asia event out in Okayama in Japan, I think has just been concluded. So plenty happening around the world. We've also got the North American series, that was at Road America last time out, and the series in Australia. So GT3 has grown and grown. Now, the number 48 man filter Mercedes run by Winward Racing leads the championship, but only by 1 point. This is the number 32 car that's second in the championship, run by Team WRT, and the driver on board that is Hugo de Wilde.
Just trying to see if there's any damage on the corner as the front left, I think, so we couldn't quite see it. We saw Engel leaving the pit lane. He was the fastest man out of everyone. Over 150 drivers took part in qualifying last year. He was the man on a 53.1 as Niederhauser starts his lap. We haven't seen many, if any, of the top 10 do their fastest lap on lap 1, but it's important to get your eye on as we see a car spin. Who was that at turn 2? I think that was Fuminelli in the Kessel car. That's going to compromise Niederhauser straight away. I think he'll actually back out of this lap straight away and use this as another prep lap, and it is Fuminelli. That's a rare mistake. I think it's actually updated to Rossi, sorry. It was Fuminelli when he left pit lane. It's now saying Rossi on the Lumarank windscreen display, but tyres not up to temperature for the Kessel car yet.
That is a clear example of the elements that can just confront you. Niederhauser got this car already struggling in the session. He absolutely needs to get the lap of laps to get it up the order when they combine the 3 qualifying sessions, combine their times. Somebody else has a moment. You've got yourself track space. Your team have got you out where they want you. Something happens, you've got to sort it out again. But hey, he forgot to go slowly. There we go. So absolutely flying through sector 1.
It's a purple sector because he's early on in the session, but that is right on the money. A 54.6. It has just been beaten only by a touch. Ben Barnico, Lexus factory driver, half a tenth quicker than that in the 2Cs Mercedes. So keep an eye out for Ben. Very fast driver. Hasn't been in the series this season, doing a lot of race in IMSA in the States, but Niederhauser with a great sector 1, considering he was compromised. Maybe that's the line round turn 2. You need a Ferrari 296 blocking the apex, and you take a wider line there. Dean McDonald super fast as well. The qualifying 3 is coming alive. This is going to be some very quick times across the board. Sorensen now takes it even faster in sector 1.
Yeah, bear in mind, Sorensen's car is currently ranked 5th overall. You can see it on the graphic, just 0.3 of a second down. And suddenly, okay, we've got an anomaly. The Lion Speed Porsche has suddenly gone second fastest overall. The Walkenhorst 34 for Aston Martin goes top. But this is because it's just those first qualifying times. So it means they're the first teams to get a time in each of the 3 sessions to get a 3-session combined time. But we'll keep an eye on that. So for now, the Rutronic Porsche is top. When I say for now, for then, of course, the Garage 59, number 58 goes to top. So we'll look at that in a short while. It's all about the speed of the cars, and certainly Marco Sorensen is really slotting together a very, very good lap. Fastest in this session so far. His time, 1 minute 54.0 sessions, 3.4 seconds. So that's the fastest we've seen all qualifying.
Yeah, good luck from Mikey Porter there. Gets the optimum car up to 5th place. RJN there as well with Alex Buncombe. Aurelio Panis goes 3rd fastest in his session to get the car well up there as well. CSA, McLaren there. We haven't seen much of them so far in this session. At the moment, it actually looks like everyone's got quite a good gap, doesn't it? Which is something that we haven't said. Thomas Preining, fastest in sector 1 again. He needs that car 43rd at the moment because the car hasn't set a lap time. As we see the 991 car now with Darren Lung in the car. Can see the purple light flashing, so I know it's the bronze graded driver. He's in some good gap, and he'll want to continue the form that car has started so far in qualifying. And here is Preining. Looks like he's maybe backed out of this lap overlap slightly. No, car flat out through there. Just get that depth perception there as he's going to come through Q2. What is the time? He has backed out. He's lost 1.8 seconds. I should have trusted my gut. So he's setting up for this second flying lap, which has been the common theme this morning.
Yeah, nobody around him. That is the absolute key to that. He can set him up without interrupting the end of anyone else's lap. Now he's got a clear run out of turn 17, the final corner down the start-finish straight. Doesn't look as though anybody's going to come out of the pits in front of him. So that is good work from the team. Any other change at the top, it's still, at the moment, as the teams are putting those combined times in, it's still the Cumchi Racing 007 Aston Martin at the top by 85 thousandths of a second from Garage 59's McLaren.
I gave a shout out to Louis Pret in a car, another McLaren driver, James Kell in the CSA car. We haven't spoken about much. I said is fastest in this session at the moment. That's a phenomenal lap. Dean McDonald is on a phenomenal lap. He's about to break the beam. Can he go fastest overall and on the combined? Yes, he can. Great lap from Dean McDonald to get that 58 car well up the order.
Right, we've still got not quite at the halfway point in this final 15-minute session. Let's hope we can get this one run without interruption, run without a red flag. That certainly hampered the chances of some of the drivers in the second qualifying session. But with so many cars to fit in around the track, 61 cars entered. A couple may not have actually set a time in this session because being repaired, most notably the number 50 Ferrari and the number 17 Get Speed Mercedes. Of course, Jules Gounon forced off in the middle part, the restarted part of qualifying session number 2.
Rafael Marcello to the top, the 98 Rover car there. Who's going to get the Rover Pole Award? Would be quite fitting if it is that 98 car potentially, as we look back at Jost. 14th at the moment, the 92 car, the gold class car, wants to get it up there, 5th at the moment in class. He's backed out of this lap as well, and that was a lap that would have helped him go up the order, but he knows he's got better, half the session remaining.
Yeah, you look up and down that list, you scan for the cars that are well placed in the championship, and for Man Filter, suddenly Mauro Engel's job has been very good, up to 4th place overall. Bear in mind, they were in about 30th. Looking on, Augusto Farfus, his Rover Racing BMW, top of the charts for now by 1/10 of a second. Will that be enough? He can smile. He's been there, seen it, done it, and knows this circuit incredibly well, the BMW Works driver.
Yeah, come to you. Aston's pushing on hard there, line speed car as well on the flashers. The Winward car, Dientz there coming through the last corner. Cars using a lot of curbs still, like you said, Bruce, that's where we had the curb issue yesterday. I think they've put dirt down. It's almost distracting and detracting from using that curb as much. Alex Buncombe gets to 14th overall in the RJN McLaren. Here he is in a bunch of traffic coming through the order. He's decided he's bailed out of it, trying to find some space, and he's decided he's going to slot in there between the 32 car, and that will not be what Hugo de Wilde wants to see. You can see the headlight flashes agreeing with him.
Well, absolutely, he'll be furious with that because that has the 32 car on aggregate is not in the top 25 positions. Now it is, and that with that compromise lap. Sorry, I spoke just too soon before he crossed the finish line, but these little moments can affect you enormously. BMW have got the bragging rights at the moment, 1st and 2nd on aggregate. We're in the 3rd of the 3 sessions. People flashing the lights. The Schumacher CLRT Porsche desperate for track space. Jordan Pepper is working his way forward for the Grasser Racing team. They were nowhere. They were outside the top half of the field after qualifying session 2. But Jordan is knitting a lap together, and every position he can gain is going to be absolutely vital. Out to the edge of the circuit at turn 16, neat and tidy through turn 17. Will he advance? No, that 2nd sector time has absolutely cost him.
Was that track limits on the last corner as well? So that would be that lap and this lap if it were. Pepper is flying, isn't he? 4th in his session. What was up with Bortolotti in Q1 in that car? That was bizarre. Let's go on board with Engels, and he's done a good job so far. He's backed out of this lap, so let's watch him set the lap up. He's trying to get a gap to that Mercedes in front of him at the moment. This car 7th overall on all the combined times, but he feels like he can find a bit more time. He's only 9th in his individual session.
Right, fastest time in this session so far from the 911, which is the Pure Racing Porsche. Thomas Preining, we saw him back out on one lap, but the next lap he nailed it. 1 minute 53.612 seconds, a 10th faster than the best from Dean McDonald in the McLaren, car number 58, and that is why the 58 McLaren is up in 3rd place on aggregate. How are those places going to change? Championship challengers, best place of those is the car that's leading the championship. The car that's leading on aggregate is 2nd in the championship. The car that's 7th is the championship leader, and the car that's 8th 8th overall, is 3rd in the championship. All desperate for that 1 point for pole position, but the clock is counting down. 5 minutes remain. We're 2/3 of the way through this final qualifying session. Looking at Ugo de Wilde, he was affected by traffic right at this point on the circuit last time around. This time, though, he's got what he wants. He's backed it off, and now this will be the fast lap coming up. He's got a bit of a gap to Buncombe in the McLaren just in front of him.
Yeah, fastest overall at the moment. Pierre Guidi, that car that felt like it's led every single session so far, down in 5th. He's on a lap, looks okay at the moment on the sectors. He's pushing through the last corner, so he feels like he needs to lift the car up. Where can it go overall? 5th at the moment. Where's that number going to end up? It goes to 3rd. Can he find another 2 places to reclaim pole?
Well, you just don't need excellent, you need continued excellence to get it right across all 3 sessions. So they're good for 3rd. It's under 1/10 of a second to provisional pole, but at the moment it's Team WRT with their BMW car number 32. It came here 2nd in the championship, just 1 point down. And if they do take the point for pole, they'll go equal with the number 48 Mercedes at the top of the pile. And those 2 cars are also fighting for overall honours in the GT World Challenge Europe Series, which is the Endurance Series and the Sprint Series combined. And the 32 BMW is topping that. Wipers starting to go on some of the cars, so maybe another little sprinkle of rain, but surely in the final 5 minutes it won't affect them too much.
Right, just watching Pierre Guidi here fly through turns 5 and 6. The first sector is coming up. Alphaisois Zuber with the wiper on in front. What's it going to be? Sector 1, we keep an eye on as he breaks the beam, and it's okay. It's not amazing. It keeps him in the hunt, but at the moment, look how tight these gaps are. He's less than 1/10 off the combined time, and it's a second off in that sector now. So it's time for one more, but it's a tyre gone.
32 cars out of the 61 still within 1 second of pole position. It seems just an extraordinary figure, not just because you can get that many cars so close, but just that so many cars have not, and this is on aggregate across 3 sessions, have not been interrupted at some point in their runs, or they have, but they've all been equally affected.
The thing with Pierre Guidi is here, he's all the way down in 22nd place of this session. That's why they've lost pole position. So himself, personally, 9/10 off the fastest time in the session, which is prime, and we said, everyone's boxed and the tyres are done. This is a flip of a coin if he even goes for another lap. I think this could be done, and it is. They looked odds-on favourites. You're on combined pole after the first 2. You put Pierre Guidi in the car. That has got to be traffic affected, and that is real gutting. Of course, they're still in 3rd, but they've lost a potential pole position.
Yeah, lost a potential pole position, and so vital here. So teammates looking on, Alessia Rivera, and I'm sure in the pit garage, Vincent Abril, they were all smiles before. They did their part of the equation, but as I said, you need all of your drivers to deliver, and every extra car you add to the field, plus a little potential sprinkle of rain, makes it all the more complicated. So the session continues, final 2 minutes, but the fact that the wipers are on quite a few of the cars indicates, I would suggest that, what are you looking at there?
I think he's missed scrutineering.
I just wondered about that, yeah.
So he should be going to park firmly, because Timar Engel had parked there. He was trudging down pit lane. He qualified 7th, so I don't know why his demeanour was so negative. As we look at Frank Pereira, all the way down in 53rd position, and that's surprising me, because Mitchell was fastest Lambo in his session, and we saw a strong run from Mapelli too as well.
He put it up to 7th overall on aggregate, but suddenly now Pierre Guidi is just sitting in the pit lane, waiting for other cars to come past him. His garage is further down the pit lane, and this is really quite unusual, trying to get the foot of what he thinks he needs to do. Can't reverse up the pit lane quite clearly. Could he be pushed back up towards where he might need to turn in and park next to the number 32 championship, well now, potentially championship leading BMW, because the point for pole position appears to be with the 32 Team WRT BMW. That will put them equal on points, on 54 points with the Winward Racing man-filter Mercedes.
And the reason Frank Pereira there, he's only done a 55.9 in his session, 2.3 seconds off. So they're well outside the top 30 on the combined times. And yeah, that is a surprise for a car that was looking strong. The 53 on his windscreen there is his position for the session, but overall they're well outside where I expected them to be.
Well, they're down in 50th place overall, and there was more of a sprinkle of rain. I think that's why a lot of drivers came in, still 25 seconds to go. And for the Sansalot Racing team, the sister car had its problems being taken out in the second qualifying session. Even Klemenko, a little spin there just means there won't be too much joy in the Sansalot Racing camp. Some days it goes for you, some days not. Still looking at Alessandro Pierre Guidi's Ferrari sitting in the slow lane of the pits there as other cars come in, but with that final flurry of rain, Now the checkered flag is about to be unfurled, but literally nobody out on the circuit.
Yeah, I can see the AF course mechanics there in the red suit walking up pit lane, about to get hit by the boots, and Mercedes parking up there. But yeah, not a great area for Sandslot Racing, is it? It was within 100 metres of where their other car got potentially harpooned by the sister Ferrari that's just been abandoned there in pit lane.
So here we go. The AF course of Ferraris presumably will get that moved up to where it needs to be. Now, also just looking up and down the order, there have been all sorts of changes, but top in the gold class was the number 58 McLaren, Adam Smalley, Dean McDonald and Louis Pret, but with Louis Pret doing that second session, so that's really good for them. They're in 4th place overall on aggregate there, and there are the positions. The point for pole position going to Kelvin van der Linde, Charles Weerts and Hugo de Wilde. That puts them equal in the top of the championship going into this afternoon's race, 54 points apiece, along with the number 48 Mercedes, and that ended up down the previous championship leader, down in 7th place overall. That was down to a fantastic run from Maro Engel, but you have to get in that times in across all 3 sectors. Leading the silver class, James Baldwin back on board, Guillermo Oliveira and Tom Fleming, number 188, that's a Garage 59 car, so McLaren's going very well indeed here. But for the bronze class, it's the car that leads the championship in class, and Conrad Larson, Dennis Marshall and Dustin Blatten are just by a whisker faster than the parodying competition BMW of Dan Harper, Sean Galale and Darren Lung. But there are a lot of cars that you'd expect to see at the very sharp end of this field, way down. Look, 29th position, Grenier, Gotts and Martin. You know, so much experience, but there they are, 9/10 down on average. 2 positions ahead of Sandy Mitchell, Marco Mappelli and Franck Pereira. We talked about their Lamborghini back there, but you have to get things absolutely nailed down across all 3 sessions here. That's the format of the championship. It's always exciting, and some people have a smile on their face, but right now it's really down to Team WRT. They're at the top, but let's go down and go down to have an interview with the winner of our Rover Pole Award, and it's number 32 BMW team from WRT.
Taking that all-important Rover pole position, my word, that was quite a challenging session, wasn't it? But you absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, it was typical Nürburgring kind of qualifying session. It was really not easy. We were struggling so far this weekend, and the team turned it around for quali, and the rain made it even more difficult. But yeah, we are on pole. That's the most important thing, and now we will focus on the race.
Just how important is it to be on pole at Nürburgring in what will essentially be a sprint endurance?
That's for sure. I think it will remove some pressure from Charles for the start, because we know that on this track it's always kind of a mess at the first corner. So yeah, now we need to focus on the race. We know we are fighting for the championship still, so it's a good way to start the day. But yeah, it's this afternoon that we score the points.
Let me bring on Stefan and Fabienne, who will be presenting the Rover Pole Award to you. Congratulations.
So 3 Rover Pole Awards, of course, the drivers spread across. But Hugo de Wilde, the 3rd driver in that number 32 Team WRT BMW. And that's BMW's first pole position since Monza in 2023. So to do it on home ground in Germany will no doubt delight the mark from Munich. And look at the use of the curbing there. Everything had to be considered. With that little flurry of rain coming through, that was another factor too. But for anybody to nail all 3 qualifying sessions, get their runs through the traffic, you know, it is an accolade to them. The weather's starting to improve a bit. We can see the top of the tower over Nürburg Village. That disappeared just at the start of the session, so we've got through. But it was quick fire through the 3 qualifying sessions, and really the teams had to deliver, not just in 1 session, not just in 2, but in all 3. It was about making space in the traffic. It was finding your pace. A little flurry of rain made things difficult. Parodying competition had pressed on early on, and then the 007 Aston Martin in that first session, Matteo Drudi did the job, but then the 51 Ferrari moving to the very top of the pile. Alessio Rivera was the quickest driver in session. Don't pat yourself on the back, you've got to do it again, not just once more, twice more. And the Rover Racing BMW, Jesse Krohn, started to make the moves and put that right towards the sharp end of the field. Ferrari looking good, looking strong. The number 50 car starting to find its form, but it was going to come unstuck at this very corner, and there after contact with Sansalot Racing Audi, that was them out of the session. Then Jules Gounon on the restart, contact with the number 32 Team WRT BMW, ended up off in the wall, no doubt furious. And the driver of the second session was Louis Pret in the number 58 McLaren. But then we got to the final session, and it was all about keeping it neat and tidy, going towards getting a good run in that third session. You have to add your 3 times together to get an aggregate. 51 was pushing on with Alessandro Pierguidi in this final session, but it was going to be difficult. You had to get all 3 sessions right. Rutronic Racing started to show some good form. At the end, it was pure racing, but it was about getting that third session in. And we will be on air at 2:30, and at the end of qualifying, it was all about getting your car to the top in your class. So do join us 2:30 for the race. 3 hours of racing action and much more beside. We're looking forward to it enormously.